Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, and this is a video that I kind of like a little bit feel weird making because it's very rare that I ever disagree with Steven Spielberg. I feel kind of bad for disagreeing with Steven Spielberg. I mean, like, I feel kind of like dirty for disagreeing with him. You know, this is a man who's like an idol of mine. One of my all-time favorite experiences was seeing him and Peter Jackson on stage at Comic-Con in 2011 to promote Tintin. I was like, yeah, huge Spielberg fan. Can't wait for Ready Player One. But during some interviews leading into Ready Player One, the question about Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and instant streaming came up, and they were asked a question, do you think that these movies can ever really kind of go for Oscars or deserve Oscars? And he says no, they don't. In fact, this is a direct quote. Fewer and fewer filmmakers are going to struggle to raise money or to compete at Sundance and possibly get one of the specialty labels to release their films theatrically. And more of them are going to let SVOD business finance their films, maybe with the promise of a slight one-week theatrical window to qualify for awards. But in fact, once you commit to a television format, you're a TV movie. Now, I get what he's saying. I do understand what he is saying there. And I think his experience being in the game for like almost half a decade and having won Academy Awards and won multiple awards, been nominated for multiple awards and made countless films. He is coming at this from a place of experience of which I don't have in terms of just being a filmmaker or even an industry pundit. However, I am a movie watcher, and I've been a movie watcher my entire life. And I've worked for movie theaters for 14 years of my life, and I've watched crap after crap after crap come through there that probably should never have gone to cinemas, right? But should be then relegated to SVOD. And it just, now we're at the age where people are going to SVOD because these companies give them the creativity, give them the freedom to create. And I want to just kind of go to a tentpole franchise here, DCEU. I know it's a constant punching bag in terms of Hollywood, at least punditry. But the idea there, what I'm trying to get to here, is that you've got too many cooks in the kitchen and a non-thought out plan for how to proceed, right? And so as a result, these movies come out and they have hundreds of millions of dollars spent on their budget, hundreds of millions of dollars on their advertising, and Justice League couldn't pull in more than $93 million in its opening weekend. As a result, it is the lowest grossing DCEU film to date. Yeah, Man of Steel grossed more worldwide. Came out 2013. What I'm saying by that is studios, they are way too overinflated with execs who have notes, who meddle. We know for a fact that Batman v Superman had a half-hour cut of that movie in order to make a 2.5-hour runtime, which would then allow for an extra screening per day. What did that 30 minutes cut out? Crucial, essential plot points for the first and second act of the film, which therefore, when we got to see the extended cut, was like, oh, holy crap, now a lot of that makes sense. It's a good movie. We've seen with Justice League, coming from the top of Warner Brothers, coming in and dictating that it has to be 2 hours long so they can get in extra screenings per day, so they can make more money, right? We're seeing these things constantly happen where studios are overspending and overspending and overspending and overspending as ticket sales dwindle and dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. Now, the studios like to blame Netflix. Spielberg, having been heavily involved with many studios over the years, is coming from that particular mindset. And so from his perspective, these movies should never really be given the accolades that they should deserve because they're not going through the same trials and tribulations that he went through in terms of independently financing his movies. I mean, Spielberg at this point pretty much just kind of does whatever he wants. He can get the independent financing. Kevin Smith is the same way. Kevin Smith will shoot a $4 million movie and he will have all the money for that up front by just selling off the distribution rights to multiple regions. Like, that's his business model and it works for him. But these other guys that are trying to get into the game, they feel stifled by the studio system. The studio system that is not necessarily invested in this kind of original product. I mean, I'm just going to say it, Spielberg, dude, I love you, but your new movie coming out is basically just Willy Wonka with pop culture references from the 1980s in a very derivative story. It's a good story. I liked it, but it's very simple and it's nothing that's too revolutionary. In fact, it's not revolutionary at all. And so it's something that could probably be made for SVOD, and that would be perfectly fine. I'm just saying it's kind of like you want originality. I know what you're saying about going to Sundance with these movies and everything else and getting on the award circuit, but even that in and of itself is just not putting eyeballs on the screen. Would you as a filmmaker rather win awards or have people see it? That's a question. That's an honest to God question. And I've thought about that myself. Would I rather, like, okay, I have my own movie. It's called In Search Of. All right. You can go see it, iso-themovie.com. I'll link to it in the low bar and everything else. I shot this movie in 2 days, 8 years ago for $500. And I thought about taking it to festivals. I thought about putting it out there, spending the thousands and thousands of dollars out of my own pocket to try to get it seen by people. But I realized that I could build a platform around it with my YouTube commentary and then also, well, basically, get out there for more people to see it. I'm not going to make any money back on it, and I don't care at this point. But I still want people to watch something I created because to me, that is more important than winning an award, being glad-handed by an industry that will forget about me as soon as I'm not relevant to them. That is the whole issue here. That is why sitting there and saying that Netflix movies like Mudbound or what was that one that Corey Fukunaga did? Just the Beasts of No Nation, whatever that one was. Or, anything else that Netflix puts out or that Hulu puts out should not qualify for an Oscar is ridiculous. Nothing changes. Nothing changes when you go through this process. A movie is a movie is a movie is a movie. There are, requirements that you can get that are going to be able to get you in the running for these awards. France and the Cannes Film Festival have gone out of their way to completely try to kick out Netflix, right? They're trying to stifle new filmmakers that are given the freedom by a studio that believes in them and that trusts them to create content that is going to be good and award worthy. They're trying to keep them out because it's going against the old system. The old system is archaic. People are moving on. They would rather watch TV shows streaming on their television at home because the quality of content you can get at home now rivals that of movies. And we go see big spectacle films and we ignore a lot of the other ones, which is unfortunate. I love going to the movies, right? I wouldn't have spent so many years working for movie theaters if I didn't love going to the movies. And here I am in my mid-30s and I still love it. I can't wait for my daughter to be old enough to take her to go see movies. That's never going to change. My love of going to the cinema is always going to be there, as will many millions of other people. The problem is the content going to the cinema is changing and not for the best, right? The thing is, people always say, why doesn't Hollywood put out original content anymore? Well, no one goes and sees it. That's the truth. When they put out these movies, they stack the deck, right? You've got 52 weeks in a year, and on average, and this could be changed at this point in time, but the last I read, 50,000 feature films are made every single year. 50 freaking thousand. Who's going to compete with that? You can't do it in cinemas because someone's not going to sit there and pay the same, they're going to ignore an independent film for a big blockbuster movie during the summer. That's just the way things are. People want to be entertained. They want spectacle, and they'll watch these independent films at home, these smaller films at home. But to deny them the right for an Oscar, to try to claim they're not worthy enough to get the same award and accolade that you've been up for yourself and won multiple times, I don't think it's right or fair. I don't think it's proper. I mean, like, you've done TV movies, you've done big budget movies, you're doing one right now, you're going to continue making them, and that's awesome. And I'm going to continue watching them because I love you as a filmmaker. But at the same time, I'm also curious to see what Netflix comes out with their movies, because I know that the $8 billion that Netflix spends in a year to acquire content and to create original content, they are actually, in many of the cases, allowing these creators who feel stifled by the studio system, one of which you wholeheartedly represent and are very actively involved in, to forego the too many cooks in the kitchen, too many producers on set mentality in order to create something that is truly their vision. Would we see the movie like Bright in cinemas? Not in the content that we got it, not in the way that we got it. Netflix dropped $90 million for Bright, and it did very well. And it's a fun movie, torn apart by critics, but who cares? Critics are ultimately irrelevant. We all know that. I'm saying, don't disregard them for putting out content for people to see, getting eyeballs on the screen, because the realistic factor here is that at the end of the day, the likelihood of more people seeing that than seeing your product is there. And if you're talking about awards like Oscars and stuff, it only helps boost it a little bit. And, You know, Moonlight won. No one I even know has gone and seen Moonlight. Same with La La Land. These movies, they pat each other on the back, right? The Oscars are a joke. Lowest viewing ratings in years because it's not competing with where the audience is. It's still tied to an older, outdated model of celebrities just giving other celebrities the reach around. And that is what's dying. And I don't think you've realized that yet. And I'm hoping that you do, because this is content, that stuff you would have gone out and made in the 70s and 80s when there was that freedom to create. Do you think we would get E.T. in this day and age? Do you think we'd get Close Encounters? We would not get Close Encounters. Oh God, no, we would not get that at all. We would not get that opus. No way. Right? Would we get Goonies? Maybe, but it'd be very, very, very different than what we got. There was a freedom in the 70s, 80s, and 90s when there was a lot of money in Hollywood. And you took advantage of that freedom. But now that freedom is on SVOD. That's where people are going. That's where the money is. That's where eyeballs are. And I think you just haven't quite caught up yet, and I hope you do one day. I just do. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that one. Kind of curious to see what you guys have to say about this. Do you think that I'm right, I have a point, or I'm wrong? Let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. If you haven't already, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, check back often for more content. Be sure to click that bell because YouTube at this point is not showing videos to everybody who subscribes. So be sure to click that bell. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day and peace out.